Another tweet promised DOGE merch will be on fire. For those of you not up with the lingo, the kids, merch is merchandise that you can buy with 3 emojis of fire. With us now, Corey Lewandowski, senior advisor for the Trump campaign. One thing I've always thought is interesting about Donald Trump, for all of his, shall we say, interesting parts of him, theatrics, is he always has sort of reverence for America, always in a coat and tie, always sort of takes patriotism seriously. You always think he takes the job quite seriously. And then you've got Elon Musk with DOGE merch. Doesn't seem to fit the narrative.
You know, Leland, is so interesting because you've got the richest man on the planet agreeing to come to the federal government as a volunteer to look at ways that we're overspending, to cut our government excess, the waste, fraud, and abuse, so that future generations aren't saddled with the debt that we're currently sitting on. And he doesn't have to do this. Elon Musk doesn't have to do this. He's got plenty of other big things he can be doing, whether it's running SpaceX or Tesla or continuing to build his own fortune, which some say is worth north of $250 billion.
I get it. I get it. He's very rich, but everybody loves nothing more than being next to power, right? Most billionaires don't get to sit with the president of the United States and have a fun time picking the cabinet and everything else. And you and I both know that if you really want to deal with the federal debt and deficit, you've got to deal with entitlement programs, which are off the table. So I ask again, is this really serious? How does anyone take this logo and Musk and his dark glasses seriously?
Look, it's serious, Leland, because we're in a crisis. We're in a crisis of
I'm not disputing that.
Children.
I'm not disputing that. I'm disputing, how do you take that seriously?
I take Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy seriously as business owners who want to come in. Like, by the way, this is not a new idea. Many presidents have looked at putting blue ribbon panels together for government efficiencies in the past. This is the opportunity now to find people who want to come in and say, Mr. President, here's what we recommend cutting. And we're going to look at it with a fresh perspective. And I think the American people are tired of a bloated government. I think most of us question what government employees do all day long and ask ourselves, how many of these people actually work every day?
No argument. Again, how do you take Elon Musk seriously when he himself spends time as head of government efficiency tweeting out that logo and himself in dark glasses and talking about selling merchandise? That seems to be the opposite of taking a serious problem seriously.
No, I think I take him seriously. I think the American people take him seriously because of the success that he's achieved as a businessman. Like, no one can take that away from him. What he's been able to do to become the richest man on the planet, don't forget, he didn't start with money. He grew all of these companies on his own, went out and came up with a great idea. And if he brings that same acumen, that same business skill set to the federal government, and we save $100 billion or $200 billion, then, by the way, we're better off because we're not paying Elon anything.
Okay. So the one thing that's interesting that Donald Trump is able to do, and we've talked about this with Geraldo earlier, is he has a superpower of making his political enemies do stupid things and goading them into being obsessed with one thing and just get angry about it, as has happened over his cabinet picks. Here's Mark Halperin on sort of the line and the order of cabinet picks with who might be coming next. Take a listen.
I think now I'm gonna show a card. I think now Bobby Kennedy might be nominated for a confirmed position, and if you assume that the gods, the Capitol Hill gods, always smite one nominee, I think that Bobby Kennedy and Governor No might have to send thank you notes to Pete Hegseth.
I believe this was said before Matt Gaetz was put out as Attorney General. Donald Trump, is there a strategy, Kristi Noem into Pete Hegseth, then into Matt Gaetz?
Listen, I don't understand what the controversy is here. Pete Hegseth is a Princeton-educated, Harvard-educated
I don't want to argue the qualifications. We already did that for the past 50 minutes. I'm just saying, do you think the rollout, there's timing to the rollout?
Look, the timing is the president wants to put his people out quicker than any other president has, and he still has additional cabinet secretaries to name, which include the Department of Labor, the Department of Transportation, the Department of the Treasury, the Department of Interior. But the bottom line is President Trump is moving very quickly to put his people in front of the American people so they can understand who these people are, because we want to be ready to go on day one. And the mistakes that were made in 2017 when Donald Trump walked in to the White House after being sworn in and the team wasn't ready will not occur again in 2025. That I can promise you.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.